So this is an early video ahead of a bunch of different lives and PR videos and commercials and stuff that I'm working on right now well, I'll tell you in a minute. That's why I'm recording this right now. Before my dad passed away last year in September, this isn't a negative video. I just have to frame some stuff because so much is going on and I'm sort of losing my mind, hence the confessional style video. I'm really struggling to keep everything together, and I'm really struggling with elements of this thing that I want to communicate to everybody that's in my audience and in my support network and family, friends, yada, yada, yada. Last year, before a whole bunch of stuff happened, we'll say, I mean, father passing, terrible case of COVID, putting the brakes on everything that I had been doing with my business, and then jumping immediately into crowdfunding this year, and a breakneck pace of business in general, and then a convention schedule that's just been monstrous because I really was not prepared for it. Basically the reason this is an early video is because I'm poking my head up early from the cave that I've been in post San Diego Comic-Con. It's like the most rough Comic-Con I've ever had in my life. And I had some very rough ones when I was an amateur artist trying to get attention from people, getting sort of middling to negative portfolio reviews and kind of going home with my tail between my legs and or crying. This one was different because I'm clearly gaining a foothold in the comic book industry, and I'm making a name for myself and making a name for my label. But it was almost like I wasn't there. I couldn't compete with the noise. I think what I've done with my brand is good for what it is, but it wasn't enough to compete with where I was. And everything I've been doing to try and run my career this year, not everything, I should say, many of the things between the bigger, more visible things have not been working out. Like the freelance experience this year has been extremely difficult. And while in some cases very rewarding and, has come in at just the right time, like freelance can, it just kind of reminded me of why I was making a bigger plan in the first place for making all these comics. And, I've been putting stuff out all year, but at the same time, I feel like my production rate has slowed down too much, and maybe that's absolutely cockamamie from the outside perspective. It's just that, and that's not to say I haven't had good business things happen. It's just that my business has not had the things happen this year that I would want it to have happen. Zoop campaign notwithstanding, and that's sort of what I'm here to address a little bit. It's not the Zoop campaign, but rather what it is I'm trying to do to make it easier for me to fulfill that big opus of a project, 2 volumes at 100 pages each with 21 stories. Now it's 21, not 20. I'm very happy with the way that book is going. If I had a different camera angle, you'd be able to see that I'm actually surrounded by a lot of the almost finished artwork for it. But I guess what I'm trying to get down to is that the breakneck pace and the hustle and the trying to tie together disparate threads of things that don't necessarily fit together this year has all been a terrible combination for me personally, I think. Professionally, less so perhaps, but personally, 100%. Last year, before everything happened, to go back to the beginning here, I had this big plan, and you might even remember me posting a couple of videos about it and a little bit of promotional material where I was going to launch a subscription on the website and have, somewhat of a crowdfunding model from within, and have exclusive paywall content and all that stuff. And that was one of the reasons that I was making such a hard push to finish a lot of content. A cat has entered the video, so if things shake, because I can see the camera shaking now just from her walking across the floor. She's not that fat, I promise. I basically had this big plan to launch a subscription in order to make it possible for me to pursue finishing and distributing all of these different stories. I've got more than a dozen stories, honestly. I've got half a dozen that are in progress and half a dozen that are already finding their way to print in one form or another. in order to make that possible, I've kind of fallen for the membership model, the subscription model, and I'm really leaning towards doing a book club, basically. So the reason I'm doing this video is just sort of to explain where I'm coming from, I guess. And it's not that I'm trying to take on too much, it's actually that I'm trying to pare down what it is that I'm taking on as far as the hustle, so that I can increase the creative output. For me, the solution is to try to streamline things and come up with a plan. And I'm not really great at structure, and I've needed to find some structure within my own business. And so to me, some kind of a book club was always the best way to go about this. And my original approach, and I'm definitely going to detail this in other videos, but my original approach to the subscription was that it was going to be all about paywall content and email delivery of exclusive content. And that is definitely still going to be the thing, but what I realized in trying to build that is that trying to maintain a paywall publishing schedule that would satisfy somebody to subscribing as far as what I would be willing to pay for. I couldn't charge enough for digital content behind the paywall to really make it make sense. And I have in my head this model of like subscription to print. So really what happened was I just sort of flipped the two things and realized that it should just be about a monthly book club where you essentially get a book, you get a print, you get a sticker, and maybe a sketch or something like that, depending on the level that you're at. So that's basically where I am now. And I'm recording this video as sort of a diary document of like, real world type things of like, my comic career really mistreated me, you guys, really gaslit me, made me think it was all my own fault, and then I realized it was my own fault. And that's basically what's happening to me right now, is that I just constantly take on too much, and I, by circumstance, was sort of forced away from this bigger plan that I've had for a while. And right now, circumstance is forcing me back into it. And I literally have no choice but to launch this thing, which is not as big of a thing as I made it out to be. Because I need to have it out there and I need it to be available on the regular forever. And I basically need it to, bumpy or not, be a thing that exists that I can start building on, because it is going to be super bumpy out of the gate, I'm almost positive. But, I'm not as bad at delivering as I have been lately. And this is all kind of an effort to make me better at delivering. And the other thing is that, like, if I have a successful subscription / label through the subscription, then I have a home for everything that I'm trying to make, no matter what the project is. Not just the stuff in progress, but stuff that is, percolating, stuff that I'm talking to writers about, things that don't have a home at other publishers that I just think should probably end up under this label anyway. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I mean, and furthermore, going back to what I was saying, the whole reason I said make a home is to, ultimately also have a home for delivering odds and ends, because at some point in the next 3-4 months, I'm going to be totally finished with odds and ends, including all the color and post-production and stuff, and it's going to go to print, and I'm hopeful that I'm going to be able to get it to people by Christmas. If nothing else, I'm pretty sure it will have gone to print by Christmas. So, that may be a first of the year fulfillment thing, but whatever the case, I'm going to end up with 70 sets of that book myself. And I personally do not want to live amongst furniture made out of sets of graphic novels. I would rather have a place for them to go immediately. That said, the book club thing is not going to include things that are as long as 100 pages. That is not economically feasible, at least at the basic levels. There might be a higher level that I will offer that I haven't, launched the subscription at the time of this video, but within days of this video, I will have, put together all of the tiers and launched. So, long and the short of it, I'm just doing this video to sort of get a bunch of junk out of my head, I think, and explain in a way, long-winded or not, because this is not for the web. This is strictly for diary purposes, for documentary purposes, behind the paywall, whatever. I just want to explain where this is all kind of coming from. And, I don't want to do a social media post where, I'm asking for sympathy. I just, I'm trying to be a lot smarter about this career, and I really want to take all this stuff I'm doing to the next level, and I can't do it the way I'm doing it. I cannot keep running around. I cannot keep getting involved with random freelance people just to try to make ends meet here and there. I really have to bank on myself. That's the most important thing here. So, you know, I feel like I fulfilled the purpose of this video, but ultimately, you know, I really just want to fulfill my purpose in this world and my crowdfunding book as well. So you guys, whoever watches this video, thanks for putting up with Shaggy Craig. You know, I'm feeling pretty crunchy and overloaded right now, so I appreciate your understanding with me maybe not sounding and looking my best and not being my happy-go-lucky positive self. I'm really just kind of in a very pensive place working on a lot of stuff, but I'm working on a lot of stuff. I think that's the most important aspect of this, is that none of this is about sitting still. This is all about funneling, you know, reading so many business books, I immediately just am like sales funneling my all of this energy, all this motion and creative activity into a format that it can end up immediately in the hands of people who are in the audience. The end.